I'm at eTrailer, and today we're talking about the Leer's Hard Tri fold-up tonneau cover on the back of our 2023 Ford F-150. Now this is going to be a great option for you if you're trying to get something that's going to give you more security on the back of your truck so no one can come by and take any of your tools you might have laying back there. And you want something that's going to be more fuel efficient for you, so let's check it out. What's going to help it be more aerodynamic is with any tonneau cover really is it's going to prevent wind flow from dipping down here and pushing against your tailgate. So it's just going to allow air to flow over this a lot more smoothly. Now that's really going to only apply on highway speeds, so definitely keep that in mind. But what separates this from any soft cover is we're going to have this very durable top to it. It's going to be made out of a fiberglass plastic, and it's going to be great because no one can come by and just cut this right open, access anything you have in your bed. And it's also going to have a weight capacity of up to 450 pounds, so this thing is going to be pretty durable. That weight capacity is really going to come into play when you're putting any tools up here. So maybe you got to open up your tailgate, get access to any of the tools you have back here, and maybe you got to grab a couple things. You can actually just put it right up on top, and you don't have to worry about damaging anything. Another thing I talk about is, since this thing is very secure, you can't open it with your tailgate shut. You actually have to open it just like I did just now, and I'll reveal some levers we have at the bottom of here on either side. How that works is if you just squeeze them together, push up, you'll be able to open this up. And what's going to separate this tonneau cover from the other designs is that it's going to be a fold-up tonneau cover. So we have a few options on our website, whether that's going to be a canister style or a roll-up style. And really the main difference is how they fold up or retract in on themselves. With a roll-up, it's just going to roll up into itself, typically a soft roll-up, and it's going to take up a little bit of space behind your back window. As for a canister style, that's actually going to retract into itself and it's going to take up some more of your bed space. So if you want something that's not going to take up a lot of bed space, this is going to be a great option because we have two more stowaway positions. The first position was with it fully extended out. This is going to be the second position. When you have it in this position, I do recommend while you're driving, you have these buckled down so you don't have to worry about this bouncing around too much and unfolding on you. The second position, or the last position I mean, that's going to be a position where if you need a lot of bed space. And the way you get that is just by lifting up. You'll have these two arms. You just pull that off there and push it on this little metal ball mount. And that's going to hold this up into place. So you have plenty of bed space now. The only bad thing about this is it's going to block your back window completely. But moving on to the rails, that's going to be the only thing left when you do take off your tonneau cover. And really, I'm a big fan of these because they barely take up any space at all. As you can see, just on our bed rails, they're about the same height as these indentions we have right here. So it's going to look very custom stock with our vehicle. And at the very end, near our tailgate side, we're still going to have access to our stake pockets, which I've installed a few tonneau covers, and a lot of times they do cover up that stake pocket. But now we can take a closer look at how this is going to sit on top of our bed, and we're going to mainly be talking about the profile. So there are some pros and cons, because this is a little bit more of a bulky design. So it's going to sit up a little bit higher, a little bit over an inch, as you can see right here. But on the plus side of that, it is sitting on top of our rails and not aligned with them. So that's going to give you a little bit more space to store things back here, especially if you want to put anything that's a little bit taller, like coolers. And for the weather seals, you notice this is pretty snug. We're getting pretty good activation right here on the tailgate side, and we're getting really good activation on the rails itself. The few spots I would keep an eye on is going to be these corners right there. You can see maybe a little bit of daylight coming through. We do have some supplies that do come with this kit that you can help plug up any spots like that. That's going to be our butyl tape, but that's going to be more to your discretion to use or not. Overall, if you're looking for a fold-up hard tonneau cover that offers you a lot of security, then this is going to be a great option for you. The only drawbacks that I can really see with this one is just how much it sticks up from our bed, and it is a little bit of a hassle to remove the tonneau cover completely because you do have to remove those bolts on both sides, some wing nuts, and some hand knobs too. Now, if those are the same pain points that you have, a tonneau cover that helps solve those are going to be the Lomax stance tonneau covers. It's going to be the same thing as this pretty much. It's going to be a hard tonneau cover that's a tri-fold, but it's going to sit a lot more low profile, pretty much the same height of your bed, and taking it off, all you have to do is remove one bolt on the side. But if you like this one because it does look a lot more robust, it does sit up a little bit more high, and it just matches a vehicle pretty well today, then I think this is going to be a great option for you too. As far as the install, it's fairly straightforward. Now their instructions that they give you can be a little bit vague in their descriptions on how much to tighten something or the placement of the tonneau cover itself. If you are having that issue, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through the process that we took. To start off the installation, we're going to start with our rails, and to put those together, you're going to have two halves for each side. You're going to try to match up this bracket with this channel of the other one and just push it in. This is roughly what it should look like. And after we have that in place, we can grab our smallest included Allen key and tighten up these two set screws. The main plan is we don't want to like over tighten this. We're just looking to make contact so everything holds in place. With the rail put together, we can start prepping it to go on the side of our bed rails. So we're going to grab this foam block that's going to come with your kit and put this on the side that's going to be closest to your cab. To figure out which side is going to be closest to your cab, you're just going to lift this up. And you want to make sure that the right hand side is on your passenger side and the left hand side is on your driver's side. The way this is going to sit in place, you're going to have this rubber padding on the back that will go against your bed rails. Notice we have this flat black bracket right here near the tailgate side. And on the cab side, we're going to have this other bracket that points out just like this. If it looks like that, you're on the right track. We're going to come to that cab side with that foam block. Just make sure you take off that paper so we can reveal that adhesive side. Get that off. I'm just going to stick that on the end of here. What this is going to do is help keep out any water and also act as padding so we don't scratch anything up. And we're just going to push it all the way against our cab side. We can start clamping down the rails, and to do that, we're going to have to grab our clamps and put them together. We're just going to have this block with these two plates on it. It's going to have a bolt that runs through and connects to the other side. What you'll have to grab and put together with it is this other bolt, and we're going to bolt this into the bottom. Just lightly thread it on so we don't lose it. Now, when you are doing this, I do recommend grabbing an extra set of hands because trying to hold this up and put this clamp on can be a little bit tricky. I just had my videographer hold this for me so I could put one clamp in place. But after when one's on here, then you don't have to really hold it. And doing it by yourself is going to be a lot easier after that. If you notice at the very end, it's not sitting on top of our rail. We want to make sure that that rail is sitting on top. Even though it's just a little bit, that little bit is going to help. When we place this on here, I want to make sure these are well distributed. Make sure they're applying pressure throughout. our rails. As you can see, I just kind of tilted that on so it could go into that channel. With that in place, I'm going to apply pressure. I like to start with the bottom one. You don't want to tighten this too much or it's going to push things at a weird angle. I just want to start with applying enough pressure just to get a little bit of resistance. And once I get a little bit of resistance, I'm going to start tightening down this top one. I'm going to use that larger included Allen key to do that for me. A side note is if you are having issues with getting this in place and it's still popping out at an angle a lot, try doing it in the reverse order. As far as the placement goes, we're trying to get these two clamps in the center as close to this joint as possible. Just have some extra pressure there. And then we're going to have another set of clamps as far away, so one is close to the tailgate end, and then we're going to have one that's close to the cab side end too. That one on the cab side is a little bit different. It's going to have this tie-down ring on the side of it, so that's what's going to separate it from the other ones. And then we'll repeat that same process on the other side. We're going to actually start putting the tonneau cover on our bed rails, and to do that I recommend grabbing a friend. I got Chris here with me today. We're just going to lift up and pull this all the way down to the cab side and just try to roughly place this down. Try to get it even on both sides. And our goal here is to line everything up, and when it starts to click into place, you know you're on the right path. Something we're aiming for is you'll see this latch right here where my finger was. And we want that to latch around the rail. So if I put some pressure down, you can see it grabs around. This is a good point to adjust how far or how close it sits to your bulkhead. So what I want to do is, once I find this channel underneath the tonneau cover, I want to line it up to the center of this sticker that says clamp here. As you can see, it's a little bit off. So what I'm going to do is just pull on the tonneau cover. Might have to just lift up on it slightly. Once that channel is lined up where I want it to sit, we're going to grab the hardware for our clamp. The first two pieces I'm going to grab are going to be this carriage bolt. The way that's going to fit in here is it's just going to go into that larger opening of the channel and sit into place. And the way the clamp itself is going to sit into place is you want to make sure this top part with the ridges is facing up against your tonneau cover, and the side with the lower hook is closest to your rails. With that in place, you're going to push that bolt through and come over here and push that head of the bolt into that channel till it grabs on into place. And that hook on the side of the clamp is inside this side rail channel. Once that feels secure, you're going to maintain control of that. Grab this knob. I like to also apply pressure to the bolt so it doesn't spin on me, and bolt it down from beneath. And we're trying to get this pretty snug. And once that feels tight, we're going to come back down, grab our included wing nut with this kit, tighten it down from the bottom, and we want to tighten this enough until it's flush with that knob. Once it's all the way tightened on there, we're going to grab our included rubber cap, push it so it covers up the bottom of that bolt so it's no longer exposed, and then we'll repeat that same process on the other side. At this stage, I recommend doing a fitment test to make sure everything's lined up properly. And so we're going to start off just by removing one of these buckles on the side. Make sure you do it on both sides because you're going to have two buckles on here. And we're going to start unfolding this out, making sure everything sits pretty flush. And We're going to fold down that last section now. Make sure it clicks into place. It's not wanting to lift up. And finally, we need to test to make sure our tailgate closes. That's looking pretty good. Looks like we have a really good seal. No water is going to be able to enter that. So we're looking good in that respect. In your case, if something didn't fit right, whether it was too close to your tailgate, maybe too far away, or the fitment was skewed, you're going to have to adjust it. So to adjust it, you're going to have to undo those hand knobs we just tightened up. And if it is too close to your tailgate, you just have to pull it back some. If it's too far away, just push it in some. And if in the case it is skewed, it's not squared up, you just have to rotate it so it sits even on both sides. After when you've done that, you tighten up those knobs again and do another fitment test to make sure everything's working well. Something that we noticed after examining our tonneau cover a little bit more is that when our cover was fully extended, it was sitting on top of here with this latch we have right on the tonneau cover instead of latching around it like so. So what we're going to have to do for proper fitment is actually adjust where this sits. So I'm going to come in with our smallest Allen key, loosen this up some, once that's loosened up, you notice I have the ability to slide this up and down this rail. I'm just going to push it in a little bit and just check for fitment now. Close it. Make sure that's good fitment. Maybe push it in just a tad bit more. I don't want it flush all the way against there because that might not be able to grab onto it. So I'm going to leave a little gap. And then I can tighten this down. And then we'll check for fitment again. When the cover is looking the way that you want it to look, then we start moving on to the last few steps. And that's just going to be some more minor things, like putting on these support rods. So when you put on these support rods, you want to make sure it's in the right orientation in the correct spots. So the side that doesn't have a lever, that's going to be the side that attaches to the tonneau cover itself. You're just going to push that opening against this ball mount here. Just put some pressure on it. It'll click into place. On the other side, with the lever, you want the go against your rails. And same process, you're just going to push down on this until it clicks into place. Now this was a little bit easier for me since I already had one side installed, but I do recommend installing this before we put on our brackets because this is going to help hold our tonneau cover up. Here's that bracket I was talking about, and this is what it's going to look like when it's already installed with the bar installed on there. Now to actually do that, all we're going to do is take this, make sure this is pointing in towards the center of our tonneau cover or our bed, and we're just going to line it up with these holes and screws. Once that's in place, I'm going to take our small Allen key that comes with our kit and just start threading this on just a little bit. I don't want to tighten this down all the way just in case I have to make any adjustments. When that's roughly in place, we're going to grab the other screw, start cinching it down. We just want to make sure it's grabbed in place and it's threading on pretty straight. These guys can be a little bit finicky, but if you just keep working with it, it should grab on. And with them both in place, I can tighten this all the way down. One of the last steps is going to be just grabbing this strap. A lot of times this will already be tied up and strapped in place. You're just going to cut that loose till you can see this. And all we're doing is just connecting this point. And all this is going to do for you is, if anything were to happen on the road, this is going to stay on the bed of your truck so it's not flying down the highway. Just make sure you do this on both sides. Finally, the last step is actually going to be an optional one, and that's going to be taking this butyl tape and finding any areas on your tonneau cover that looks like there's any gaps in. The typical spots you want to look for are typically going to be the corners where the bed meets. And like I said, that's optional. All you're going to have to do if you want to do that though is just take off a little bit of this, plug up those spots. It's going to prevent a lot of water from seeping through those spots. But that was just a look at the installation and some of the features of the Leer's tonneau cover on the back of our 2023 Ford F-150. Thanks for watching.